Hello everyone, let me welcome you to this video, which is a premiere for me and for you too, because this is my first ever speed build in The Sims 3. I did play The Sims 3 when the game came out and I built quite a lot there, but I never made a video of me building in The Sims 3, so I hope that you will enjoy this, same like I did enjoy building. This idea was in my head for a fair amount of time because I was making the video on my channel which is related to if The Sims 3 is still worth playing in 2025, and because I own the game, I was thinking that I might return back to The Sims 3 and see first of all how the game's gonna perform with a significantly better PC that I have now compared to what I had in 2009 and later on. So yeah, this is testing basically how the game is gonna behave and how will I manage. It's still quite slow to my liking. I would prefer if the performance was better, but I know that there are some certain mods which can make the game run smoother. I'm not using any mods in my game because I usually play every game vanilla, but I know that a lot of you do have mods in all the Sims games and I have nothing against that. It's the same for me with the custom content. I'm not using any custom content for this build, but again, if you like custom content, there is nothing wrong with that. This house has only items from all the Sims 3 games and also some items that I purchased through the Sims 3 store. If you are new to my channel, welcome one more time. My name is Lucy. I love to play all sorts of video games, but my all-time life passion is The Sims, and it doesn't matter if it was The Sims 2 or The Sims 3 or The Sims 4. So if you like The Sims and if you like gaming in general, please consider to subscribe to my channel because it helps me to grow. Thank you so much if you will do. As I said, I play all the Sims games and right now I digitally own all of them because of the recent re-release of The Sims original title and The Sims 2. And if you are considering to purchase them, I have a mini review on my channel for both the titles, and I also did review The Sims 3, which I was speaking already about in the beginning of the video. And I have to admit that regarding the building, I really miss one thing, which is create a style. You will see me using this tool in The Sims 3 almost all the time, especially in this video. I think that I recolored almost every object, if not all of them. So yeah, that is a thing that I really miss in The Sims 4 and I would love to have that, because when I was thinking about The Sims 3 game and when I was going through the objects which are in the game, because I obviously forgot quite a lot of them, I was thinking, wait a minute, I feel like this is less than what I remember that was in the game. And then I thought about that. It's probably because if you can recolor almost everything, there are certain items that you cannot recolor. But generally speaking, Create a Style is a very powerful tool which allows you to recolor almost anything. And because of that, I think I had a feeling that we have more items than we actually do. But it's not a really big problem because with this tool you can change the look of anything, and if you don't like, for example, some colors, you don't need to be relying on swatches that we have, and you can just make it to your liking or preference. Right now I'm recoloring this bed because I don't like that frame, the kind of pattern of the wood there, and also I was considering which colors I'm gonna use for this building. And I am in my mint era, so I apologize. I hope you like green because there's gonna be a lot of it in this building. And I'm not saying that everything's gonna be green, but I was choosing colors which complement each other with the mint green, so I hope that you like this style. I love it, so I just went for this look and that's it. I actually have an idea and I know it's not very original because there is a not so berry challenge, but if you have any favorite color, let me know in the comments and I would consider to build a house in a different color, and I would try to tone it all to that color and to the shades of the color, same like it is in Not So Berry challenge. Now let's talk a little bit more about this build. As you can see, I was going for a shape of T, and it is a smaller house. If I would follow the restriction from The Sims 4, it wouldn't be considered as a small house because I think this one has more than 100 tiles. But I like to build small houses. I think they look more cozy and cute. And for this particular house, I have two porches, one front and one rear porch. And I'm also using that space to actually maximize the space that I have in this build. Generally, I am minimalist myself, so my builds are usually not very cluttered. In this bedroom, there's minimum of the furniture and minimum of the clutter because I wanted to make it bright and I wanted to make it less busy, same like I would have it probably in a real life. And as you can see, I just recolored these box or stacking boxes, which normally have horrible swatches, very, very crazy colors. And I just changed that so it looks like crates, which are made of wood. And I think that I really like it as it turned out. If this is supposed to be more realistic and more real house, I would probably include more storage space. But in my head, I was building this house for a single sim. So I was not including too much of storage because I was considering that she's gonna be minimalist as well, like me, so she won't need that much of storage. We are moving to the kitchen, which again, I chose a very bright, basically white color, and the countertop is tiled with tones of mint green. I'm trying lately to not be too much of a jumpy builder because you could see me before that I'm going from one room to another, so I'm trying to focus on the kitchen right now only. And with these top counters or hanging shelves, I wasn't so sure you would see me to go back and forth and then I would delete them at the end because I felt like it takes too much of space, it doesn't correspond with the window properly. I added another extra counter here and changed the shape a little bit because I feel like this is using space much better, and I'm just looking for some extra items that I could put there. A little bit of clutter, not too much, but something which would look like this house is lived at. You can see me that I'm using building cheats for this build, especially move objects on. If you don't know how to activate that, you can press Ctrl+Shift+C and type testing cheats enabled space true. Then you press enter and then you open the cheat console again and you type move object space on and then press enter. It comes with also negative side because move objects on allows you to place any item anywhere, including inside of item which is already occupying the slot. So you have to be really careful about, for example, placing chairs, because normally if you don't have it on, chair snaps to the slot with the table, but in here my chairs were not properly snapped, and you'll see it a little bit later when I'm gonna be moving the table, that it's not gonna move all the chairs, it's gonna move only two. So if you're building and if you want to have it more cluttered, for example, and that's why I use move objects on, then you have to be very careful that it's better to turn it off for certain actions and test it if things are properly snapping and slotted as they're supposed to be, such as chairs and tables. Generally speaking, I use move objects on all the time, especially in The Sims 4 where you activate it slightly different. But no matter in which game you're using move objects on cheat, you have to make sure that you playtest every build that you use this cheat on, because sometimes it can restrict Sims from using certain items, and I always recommend to playtest everything if you build with building cheats. I did playtest this build and you will see a little footage at the very end of the video how my sim is actually interacting with the house. So I am quite confident that everything's working, but there was one item that I had to delete because it was restricting my sim to use the bookcase. It's gonna be in the room that I'm gonna work on a little bit later, you won't see it yet, but yeah, I had to do that. So if you are a builder, for example, and you share your builds with other people, make sure that you always play test it. And not even that, even if you don't share it with anyone and you build just for yourself, make your sim to go through every single item in the house which you use to move objects on with, and then test it if it works properly. Because this is me building the house after more than 10 years that I didn't play the game, I am a bit rusty and I'm still going through all the inventory and just looking for items. Sometimes things get mixed up and I'm just thinking, oh wait a second, I thought that we have something like this in the game, and then I remember that it's in The Sims 4. And vice versa, sometimes I'm looking for certain items in The Sims 4 and then I realize we don't have it and that I just remember it from the previous titles. You can see me here moving with the table and the chairs, as I was talking about before, because I used to move objects on. The chairs were not slotted properly, but now it's fixed and I'm working correctly as it's supposed to be. And I also like this placement better. I think it looks a bit nicer when it's diagonal compared to have it just normally slotted. Also, don't worry about all of these lights, the ceiling lights that you can see. It will be deleted. It is just for the purpose of me filming, so it's not completely dark. Sometimes I really forget about it to do that for the video, and then the rooms are quite dark. So in here I was trying my best. The Sims 3 is also a little bit weird about lighting, so there is a way around, but I'm not using it in this particular build, so I'm not gonna talk about it right now. But if you know that I'm talking about the item which is in the debug menu. But as I said, I'm not using it here, so I'll talk about it maybe in some other videos if I will actually use it. Even I said before that I'm a minimalist myself and I don't usually clutter my builds a lot. On the other hand, I would appreciate if there was a little bit more clutter in this game, and again, I know that I could probably get some more items from the store. However, I own every single DLC which was released for The Sims 3. And I also own some of the worlds that you could purchase in the Sims 3 store. And because I spent so much money on this game in the past, I bought it every single time when the game was released, so for the full price. And also the Sims 3 store is quite expensive. I'm not willing to buy extra clutter just for that. So yeah, these builds are quite empty and not cluttered, but on the other hand, as I said, I'm a minimalist myself, so if I can have things stored in some counters or in some drawers or somewhere where it's away from the side, I would have it like that in real life, and that's why I'm justifying that in the Sims 3 game too. It is gone, out of the sight, it's stored, but it's there. Don't worry, she has all the essentials she needs. Now I'm working on a study because I was considering that my sim is going to be self-employed and she's gonna work from home, so she will need a dedicated space. And also you will see me that I'm gonna rotate the furniture in a little bit slightly different, because one thing about me, when I'm building anything in The Sims, no matter which game it is, I always try to make it realistic, same like I would plan it for myself in my place. So one thing which is really important, I don't know how you feel about it, but if I'm working on the PC and I have a door behind me, I don't feel really good. It's definitely something with the feng shui, but I'm not the expert about that. So I did rotate the desk here, that it's facing to the wall, and the door or the entrance to the room is at least in a line of sight. No directly, but she can see if someone would walk on her into the room, so it feels much safer. I don't know if I'm being weird about that I'm thinking about details like that, but as I said in some of my previous videos, I always create a story in my head about the sim who's gonna live in the house, and based on that, I am building the entire building. I miss a little bit the variation of plants that we could have in The Sims 3. There is not many of them, especially the smaller sizes. There's quite a lot of weird looking plants that I feel like I can't really use in most of the builds unless it's like themed for a certain thing. And I know that I am limiting myself because I don't play with custom content. If I did actually play with that, I could probably decorate the houses better. But never say never. I'm not saying that I will never play with CC. I recently saw amazing custom content from the custom content creator for The Sims 4. And you may be familiar with who I'm talking about because lately we had a kit, a creator kit for The Sims 4 by Cibulet, and Cibulet made amazing bathroom that I bought. I don't usually buy kits, but I bought that immediately because I loved all the items there. And out of curiosity, I went to Cibulet's page on the internet, and Cibulet is creating amazing stuff. I really love most of the items, and I felt like I wish I could have them in my game, and I can. It's just my head which usually limits me about custom content, as I said before. I think it comes with the fear that if you have a custom content, if there is something which breaks the game, I don't want to deal with that. It's actually quite funny because I don't have any legacy saves because I don't really play much of a gameplay. I am generally a builder, however lately I was enjoying quite a lot of gameplay of The Sims 4, and if you enjoy it, that would be great because I'm considering to make some gameplay videos on this channel too, because I want to get back to gameplay videos and to gameplay itself, because all of The Sims games are very rich regarding gameplay. Especially The Sims 4 has basically unlimited options how you can spend the time in the game. And I feel like I'm missing out because last couple of years I spent a lot of time in competitive gaming, in FPS games, and it is still my passion. I still like it too. But I feel like I'm really missing single player games, and I really miss The Sims gameplay. So if you like it, I hope that in the next couple of weeks there's gonna be more gameplay videos on this channel too. I was also considering to live stream on YouTube. I do live stream on Twitch, but most of the time I do live stream those competitive games as I was talking about, or some survival games. But I was thinking that I can dedicate my YouTube live stream to The Sims. So if you will be interested in that, I would really love to hear from you in the comments to let me know if you think it's a good idea or not, because time is precious and I'm time limited and I cannot do all the things that I love every day. So that was the idea, that I could actually try to live stream on YouTube to have a different and separate content here. I think it would be a lot of fun to start some challenge, such as Legacy Challenge or maybe Homeless Challenge, which is usually my favorite, or Rags to Riches, because one way how I like to play in The Sims is that I like to create everything from scratch. Maybe I could also do some of the Grid Challenge, because I never played with that feature in The Sims 4, so it could be really fun to watch that. Let me know. As I said, I would really love to hear some feedback from you guys, because you are everything. You are everything, and you are the reason why I'm creating this stuff. Don't get me wrong, I love to create in general. This is one of the reasons why I'm making videos on YouTube, why I'm live streaming, why I'm playing creative games, because my entire life, the big part of it is creativity in general. I am a very crafty person and I love to be creative. I draw, I used to crochet, I love all the stuff that I can do myself, such as DIY projects. So this is just another way of me expressing myself, and there is just something about it, about building in The Sims, and not just The Sims, but in general. I love all the creative games where you can build and you can landscape, and not just that, I also am very obsessed with like tycoon games and a lot of simulators, so that is my entire life really. And because I can't really create right now in the real life due to limited space and everything, I'm very grateful that I have the game that I can express myself at. So yeah, I really enjoy to play The Sims, especially to build in there and to create. Now looking at the footage, I wish there was a bit of variation of small rocks in the game and you cannot recolor these. So it looks a little bit too uniform, but you have to work with what you have, and at the end it doesn't really look that bad. And I was also trying to mix and match some of these plants, so hopefully it was done well enough and that it fits quite well with the building. I'm moving to landscaping. I already started with the front garden, if you want to call it like that, and I'm focusing on the rear garden right now. I love hydrangeas, and in general I have to say that I feel like I prefer the aesthetics of the flowers and plants and trees more in The Sims 3 than in The Sims 4. This looks more realistic compared to The Sims 4, which is a little bit more cartoony style, but it's just all about the preference, and I have to admit that obviously The Sims 4 runs better, smoother, the performance is better in general, but maybe you can sacrifice a little bit of that for different aesthetics, and I've really enjoyed The Sims 3 aesthetics. Don't get me wrong, as a builder, I prefer building in The Sims 4, which is way less limiting. In The Sims 4 you can do almost everything. In The Sims 3 you're limited, you cannot resize objects unless you're using mods, and resizing objects is something that I use all the time in The Sims 4, so it is slightly worse experience for a builder, especially if you're familiar with The Sims 4. But on the other hand, I have to say The Sims 3 still holds up quite well. And I have to say that I'm still very impressed with the game, which came out in 2009, basically stopped being supported in 2015, when was the last update, the big update, which came out. I know there was an update for The Sims 3, which is quite recent, but that was only update which was fixing the issue that certain players could not launch the game. And I think that's really great that they did fix that issue for certain players. But in general, there is still so much potential for The Sims 3, and I know that this is not their flagship. The Sims 4 obviously is newer, and that is where the focus is. But I would really love to see some update for the game. Ideally something which is related to the performance for all the players who do not want to download any mods. I think that would make me to play the game even more, because I really do like the game. I did confirm it to myself when I was building this house that I still miss The Sims 3 so much, and there's still so much of potential. Honestly, there's so much of gameplay, open neighborhoods, we have cars, we have different form of transportation, and we have also so many tools how we can customize the game with the official tools. So yeah, The Sims 3 is something which still can keep up with modern games, and I am actually really grateful that I'm creating the content related to The Sims, and I can rediscover all of this joy that I had when I played this game when it first came out. However, I can still tell you that when I was loading the game, I could literally go make myself a lunch or do some homeworks and stuff, because it took ages to boot the game with the older PC especially. So this brings memories and I can enjoy them again, which is great. I'm very nostalgic lately, especially because The Sims was celebrating 25 years. And I can't believe that this franchise has been a buddy in crime for me for so many years. And it was always my comfort game. It was always the world that I created, that I wanted to have in my life, and I couldn't. This game always played a massive role in my life, and I am so grateful that I can still play it. And that you, at least some of you, do enjoy what I'm making, and that makes me really happy. So thank you to all of you guys who are watching the video actually. Thank you that you made it so far. You can see now the footage from the game. You can follow my sim through her day and you can see what she's doing. And same like me, she definitely enjoys some cooking and some nice stuff to eat. It also couldn't be my sim without some gaming, so if you're not subscribed to my channel, please consider to subscribe. I would really appreciate that. It always makes me really happy when I get some feedback from all of you. If you have some comments, if you have some tips for me, if you want anything you want to share with me, please comment it down below. And I hope that I will see you in other video. Bye!